Hey guys, this is Tim Fraser in Sedona with 5doptions.com. Listen, I get this question all the time. Tim, how did you learn what you did, what you do? And you jumped on cloud very early. I was an early adopter and all that. How the hell did you figure all this stuff out? And why are you any different than the rest of us? Is, quite frankly, I won't claim to be a genius in anything. I'd like to think that a lot of people think the same way as I do, but there's some foundational things that I kind of look back on my career and I go, what are the things that really were my tipping point when it came to enabling my career to be really cloud friendly, cloud ready, and I think about there's some things in my core personality that I just take for granted, and those of you who have worked with me or been around me, you'll know this. I'm terminally curious. I can't say those words. I just have to know. I have to know how things work. I have to know how things operate. So that's number one, curiosity. My curiosity has led me to open books. It's opened me to check out websites. It's opened me to play with toys. Opened me to look at the shiny objects and look for how things work and understand under the covers. I started out as a software developer in the application space. I moved into software development in operating systems many years ago. I was an IBM programmer. I worked on operating systems at the very low, grunchy level. And honestly, I learned a few things down at that level that it's really helped my career out in the long run. And I want to impart some of those thoughts to you because you can learn them. You don't have to be a geeky system programmer and on mainframes and PCs and Unix and all that stuff in your career. You can jumpstart that by doing a couple things. Well, let me go back to the basics. What I learned in computing is how computers work. Okay, I learned the architecture of the hardware. I learned the architecture of the networking. I learned the architecture of the storage underneath it. I learned the architecture of the application, and that has all changed, by the way. And this is like years and years of evolution. Guess what I had to do? Relearn. Yes, I had to relearn every one of those aspects every 3 years, 4 years, every year in my career. Now, so you need to learn how to learn. And so learning by reading a book is great. I think some people just need that structure. They need the ability to get on and read things and follow, to take some classes. And I'm all for some structured learning. Don't get me wrong. But there's nothing is going to substitute you getting burnt by doing something you didn't, learn in a book and doing it and finding out about hardware that it's, you can, it's your sandbox. It's your play toys. Put your jigsaw puzzle together. If you're building an infrastructure and it's a server farm or it's a network farm or it's a storage array, you got to build a stack and you got to understand what the stack does and understand the limitations of the stack. So what worked for me at the very beginning was that terminal curiosity, number one. Number two was I really learned how computers tick. Computer ticking has not shifted in 30 years. It's still the basic same hardware architecture. The only question is where in the stack are you operating? And, are you talking to one vendor or are you talking to 12 vendors now because the stack has got very complicated? And I mean the stack all the way from the hardware all the way up into the application stack. Middleware inclusive and to messaging and communication and all that. So understanding the stack. So how can you learn the stack? There's many ways you can do that. Some of that is plain. Probably the most recent thing that might be interesting to play with, pick up a Raspberry Pi. Pick up a hardware. It's a little bitty computer on a chip, and it's got lots of interesting interfaces. It's a Linux kernel. You can open it up and install stuff. If you're learning open systems, great way to learn Linux. If you're learning operating environments, you learn how to use the operating system to interface to hardware devices and the interface to the software layer. That Raspberry Pi is a generic purpose computer. You can put it in your pocket, put it in your home. You don't have to buy a mainframe. You don't have to buy a PC. You don't have to go into server farm. Just play at that level. Get familiar with that. That might give you some interesting insights. Second thing, probably the most important thing I learned was networking. When I understood networking and I understood how to engineer a network from all the way to know the difference between a hub and a router and a network topology and how the network stack works, understanding network and understanding how the network plays is really been a key success for me in my career, because I could start troubleshooting things. I could start seeing where the traffic went across the computers, not just on the computer, but across computers. Because guess what? A cloud, or let's just say 10 years ago, networking was the glue that brought everything together. Remember the days when digital used to talk about the network is the computer? Well, it's gone way past that. So network is not just computer. The cloud is the network, and the network is a cluster of compute nodes, all talking to each other across all amazing locations around the world. So understand the speed of light's not changing anytime soon. So at least no one's figured out how to challenge that quite yet. But the ability to understand networking and understand how communication occurs between computers was a really, really foundational piece for me. I'd encourage picking up some books on networking. I'm not going to teach you the how-tos. There's plenty of classes you can take. You can go take a class online. There's tons of resources. If you want, I can later post on this replay and give you some resources. Quite frankly, if you're learning about open source, Amazon, and you're not an open source person, you've got a little ways to go. You've got a little ways to learn the basics. Give yourself some time, learn how to work through the layers of the architecture. Learning networking was really, really important. The third tip I'm going to give you is question everything. Don't ask how questions, ask why questions. Cloud is all about why. It's not about, can you move, bits and bytes across the network? Can you do it cheaper? Can you do it in an elastic manner? Can you do it at a scale level? Can you do it in a global manner? Can you do it all that? So all that is just noise. You need to go back to the question, why? Why is that important? And don't be a geek about it. Take your geek hat off, okay? Don't be a geek about it. Even though I'm a geek, I actually do talk in business terms to a lot of my clients. You got to understand why are you doing this? You're not there for a job. You're there to help the business be successful. You're there to basically help your clients be successful. Doing that is all about the why questions. Ask your questions around, why is this important? Why is the computing important? Why is the network important? Why is the storage important? Why is the cloud important as a whole? Companies want to go to cloud tomorrow. I was on a business call just this week, and one of my clients said, "Hey, we've looked at the cloud and it doesn't make economic sense." I don't know. I said, "Well, how did you do that analysis?" Because evidence has shown quite different, and it's really a game changer for a lot of companies who really embrace it. And the answer was, well, we're going to take our data from here and our apps from here, and we're just going to move it into the cloud. My first question was, why would you do that? Okay, so ask yourself why questions. And they didn't have a really good answer for that. They just think they have to be in the cloud. Well, moving from one data center to the other doesn't make any sense. So moving to a cloud in a new way, of using the services, a new way of doing things. Maybe don't bring your old baggage with you. Reconsider whether or not the application can be rewritten, retired, or replaced, or refactored. All those rationalization points are the why questions. Why would you do that? What's important to the business? What's the investment in that technology? So 3 things again. Learn the foundations of the architecture. Don't be some guy who writes code and just magically stuff happens. Pardon me, I almost said the word the S word. Okay, but yeah, I'm going to say those words. This is my private channel. So yeah, don't just write code and think that shit happens underneath you. Okay, you need to think about, how does it happen? Why does it happen? Right? More importantly, the why than the how. The how will come together. You can learn the how by reading a book. You can go to class. You can do a lot of things. Ask why questions. Ask yourself in your career. And by the way, I'm wearing my green shirt today because I want to represent. If you're feeling like you're a little green in your career, you don't know anything about cloud, you don't know anything about the world is moving past you, and maybe you know a few things, you read a few books, you read a couple of articles, you blogged a little bit, and people commented back about what you're saying. Ask yourself the question, how is that changing your career? Has that really helped grow your career? Are you asking the right questions of yourself? I know a lot of people stand on their platform of knowledge for 20 years ago, 15 years ago, like I said in my previous video, and they really don't understand the technology underneath it. Then they hide that because they just act like this is what they're doing is really, really important, and we've got to do it the same way. Ask why questions. Challenge, if nobody else, challenge yourself. Challenge yourself to ask those why questions that will help you put your career on a new trajectory. Why are you doing the same thing the same way? Is it working for you? Is your career growing? Is your management looking at you as the go-to guy to help you go to the next part of your career or next part where the company wants to go? And are you missing those boats? If you're one of those people that just wants to You know you're smart. You've been working hard, but you're just missing the boat. Just listen to these tech tips. These tech tips. I'm going to go through a lot of the how-tos underneath the covers, but I'm going to teach you how to ask those why questions first. The how-tos will come together, like I said. So I will leave you on that. Ask yourself why. Why are you doing this? Now, ask yourself the other question. Why are you not doing it? Can you afford not to retool yourself? Technology changes way too fast. So if you think you've been learning a few things and you've been growing, but you don't feel like you've been growing, you're still a little green in your career, and you need to grow, take those green shirts off. Go skinless. Go all skin. Just do something different. Ask yourself why. Why are you wearing, what you're wearing? Why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you standing where you are? Why are you working for that company that you are? Can you have a career growth there, or what's it going to take for you to go to the next level in your career and retool yourself? And we'll tell you this: you can take a lot of classes, ton of classes on technology, but until you figure out the why questions about why things work a certain way, why the business is driving the way it is, those how-to questions won't matter. So I'll leave you on that tip. Sedona IT Tech Tips from right here in Sedona, Arizona. If you guys like this post, please comment, ask me more questions. I'd love to interact with you guys. If you're already here and you're watching, just post on that you were here so I can see, because I can't normally see who's on. So till the next time, we'll ponder on the why questions. Ciao from Sedona.